Is Joshua Tree Airbnb market dying? A lot of people are freaking out that Joshua Tree is not a really good investable market, and I'm going to talk in this video about why that's not 100% the case. Now, there is some merit to that in general because keep in mind there's some people that made bad investments and bought properties that don't work. I am the owner of Stays You Like and the co-host company. We have 85 live properties currently, and we have data across all these properties to tell what works, what doesn't really matter. And so I'm going to be talking about all factors and going through what areas to buy in, what areas to avoid, what amenities are the best, what amenities don't really matter, and then give you some beginner mistakes that I see that a lot of investors make, and even costly mistakes that a lot of experienced investors make in the Joshua Tree area. Other than the 85 properties that we have in our portfolio, I've also gathered as an investor the 12 properties collectively between my business partner Josh and myself. So we went through the whole experience ourselves. So the first part is what areas to buy in. So when you're thinking about people coming to Joshua Tree National Park, they're really coming to get away from the big city. What does that really mean? That means they really want to be focused on an outdoor experience. They really want to be in a place where they feel remote. They feel like they're away from everybody. And that's really what's appealing to guests that come in the area. So what are the things that make the desert landscape so unique? Boulders, beautiful views, being out in the middle of nowhere and having incredible stars to look at night. And really, you're going to want to spend a lot of time outside. You're probably going to want to spend a majority of the time outside. So that's going to be an important aspect of it. And then also, you don't want to probably be near neighbors. A lot of the people that come into the area are in cities where there's a lot of anxiety going through traffic and cars and congestion and neighbors, and they just want to get away from that. It's a complete detox. So cool. Which areas do I really want to look into? There's three main areas that I want to highlight: Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley, Pioneertown. If you're buying in those areas, you're going to be okay. But make sure that you're not buying in the neighborhood areas. You're buying in places where it feels remote. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can have neighbors for miles away, even though that's okay, but also being in places where you can picture yourself having a privacy fence or something of that nature so it feels remote. I'm going to highlight a few areas that I definitely recommend you guys look into. Panorama Heights is one of those areas. The Highlands, going to Monument Manor or that area near Joshua Tree National Park. Some other areas include even north of Joshua Tree in the Sunfair area, Copper Mountain area. That's always a good place. There's a lot of big plots of land over there. Joshua Tree in general is going to be probably your best, safest bet. It holds its value really well. And when people search to go to Joshua Tree National Park, they type into Airbnb, which accounts for 90 to 95% of bookings. They type in Joshua Tree. So whatever comes up closest to proximity to Joshua Tree is going to be super valuable. There's also different areas of Joshua Tree like Friendly Hills. That's really good, and it might not be quite directly in town and neighbors on top of each other, but it's enough space to give you that feeling of remote. So talking about adjacency to Joshua Tree, another market that does really well is Yucca Valley. And once again, not the neighborhoods of Yucca Valley or when you're on top of each other, but the areas where there's some rooms, some boulders, some beautiful landscape that people go out there for. There's a lot of incredible places outside of the perimeter of Yucca Valley that are really good for buying short-term rentals. A community that I really like is Western Hills Estates. It's so amazing. It's close to Yucca Valley where there's a plethora of things to do, and guests love it that it's usually off of paved roads, maybe a little bit of dirt road here and there. There's beautiful boulders, there's amazing views into Yucca Valley. It's close to town. It's just a really good market to invest in. We have a lot of properties in that area that do extremely well. Another area is Yucca Mesa area. So there's a lot bigger plots of land. There's more Joshua trees in that area. Also really good. Another one could be like Flamingo Heights. It's a little further away, but also has really good landscape with mountains and views and great backdrops that people really enjoy being in the space and surrounding nature. Now let's talk about an area that's one of the fastest growing areas of all of Joshua Tree, and that is Pioneertown. I am super bullish on Pioneertown. I love the future outlook on it, there's a lot of money being poured into this. I'm talking about really wealthy people building incredible things in the area. There's a lot of an expansion going on within the musicality of the town. And I'm just really excited about what's coming to this town. And just from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from investors, I love Pioneertown. They have some of the most beautiful landscape that combines a little bit of everything. It's got beautiful boulders, it's got beautiful views, it's got beautiful landscape, it's got a lot of land, it's got everything that you really need, and there's just the incredible Pappy and Harriet's, which is bringing in incredible artists, sound stages coming in at the time of this recording, and I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that you guys are going to find out after this video is posted where Pioneertown's expanding tremendously. Now, currently, the numbers aren't as good as Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley in some cases, but comparable. And I know that the trends of people searching for Pioneertown specifically is going up. So it gives you a lot of feel of the future potential of this market. Now, one really cool socket of this market is called Gamma Gulch. It is a very private, not very private, but a very high in demand community. It's got incredible, you feel like you're on Mars. It's just unexplainable. And I definitely recommend if you can pick yourself up a plot of land there or just in general build there, that's something that's definitely on my bucket list. Definitely something that to look into. So overall, you can't really go wrong with Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley, or Pioneertown. Let's talk about places that I wouldn't 100% recommend investing in. There's always some exceptions to these areas for sure, but just overall from what we've seen in our portfolio, they don't do as well. That's going to be 29 Palms, Landers, and Morongo Valley. Morongo Valley, I'm just not sure. We see half of the revenue as Joshua Tree for a similar kind of build. And we have a 5-bedroom that's incredible in Morongo Valley, and it does well, but it doesn't do quite the numbers that it would do if it was in Joshua Tree. And so I just see those numbers for comp by comp basis, as well as 29 Palms. There are specific areas of 29 Palms backed up to boulders, incredible views that do pretty well. But keep in mind, it's going to be further away for the average consumer to go out there. And also a little further from the main entrance of the national park, doesn't really matter, but just in general, not as sought after as Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley, or Pioneertown. And then the last one's gonna be Landers. I really like Landers. I'm bullish on it long term. I think it's gonna do well, but right now it's just not as good. They've got nice plots of land, they have beautiful views, but it's just a little further out for some people. I think a lot of locals like living there too. And I've said this multiple times, neighborhoods are hard to pass into. And it depends on the lot and depends on location, but as long as it feels remote in a neighborhood, it's okay. But if you're home on top of each other like Joshua Tree Village, it's not gonna do as well. Now with the remote feel, areas to avoid, dirt roads aren't really going to be a deterring factor for guests. Guests actually enjoy dirt roads. For the most part, it's part of the experience, and you're not really going to get penalized for it. Having a paved road is always good. There's some guests that really care about that, that might care about that stuff, but most times when we see a dirt road, it doesn't deter from the revenue of the property. And I want to make a note that if you do buy in a neighborhood, you're just going to be capped at the amount of money you can make. So the same investment that you make and the same money you pour into a property like that, even if it has a view in the backyard, is only going to do so much. And so if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, you want to be able to maximize that. So if you build a pool outside of in a remote area in a beautiful location, it's going to yield a higher ROI from an investment standpoint. Now let's talk about what to look for in a property. What to look for in a property. Bedroom count is going to be important in your decision making. So 1 to 2 bedrooms, usually you're going to be booked a lot more often. We see even upwards of not missing one day on a 1 bedroom. We have one that we launched for 6 months ago that hasn't missed one day through launch, and they're booked at high rates. And so 1 bedrooms are very flexible where people can come very last minute. 2 bedrooms as well. You can get a couple, 2 couples. It's really great. Bedroom counts to go in. It's actually one of our expertise. We love booking 1 to 2 bedrooms. They're great. Another set of bedroom count is the 3 bedrooms. The 3 bedrooms are a little bit awkward in the middle. It's not ideal all the time, but a 3-bedroom can be really good if you have the right amenities, the right location, and right everything. You could definitely still get booked for the 2 to 4 guests that can go there, but you're really capped out at 8 guests. So you can only do so much. It's a really awkward in between. You're not really going to get big families. You're not really going to get, maybe you get couples, but then you're still competing with the 1, 2 bedrooms. But with the 3-bedroom, your cleaning fee is going to be higher, so you're going to get less one-night stays, and it's a transient market. The average nightly rate or night stay is around two nights. People a lot of times are coming into town. If they see a really high cleaning fee, it doesn't matter what you're charging. They're not going to want to stay for just one night at your place. They're going to rather opt in for maybe a 2-bedroom if they have 2 couples. So that's something to keep in mind. But 3 bedrooms can still be very effective if you have the right property, the right location. Now, 4, 5, and 6 bedrooms, these are great because you have the bigger groups. And so you're going to get higher rates, but booked maybe a little bit less frequently. So let's say you're booked at 70% of the time, or maybe 60 or whatever, but you're getting way higher rates because you can share it with more people. Now, you're capped with the counties. You can only do 12 with San Bernardino County, so like Joshua Tree, certain unincorporated areas, you're capped at 12. So that's the thing there. But if you have something in Yucca Valley, you can get a 6, 7-bedroom for around 14. So 14 is like the highest. You can't really do anything more than that. But that goes into the last thing. This is the jackpot if you can find this. If you can find 2 properties, 2 separate properties on the same lot, that is amazing, because if you can get 2 short-term rental permits, now you can actually bypass everybody that's limited by the 12 to 14. So this is like the best kind of case scenario. Let's say there's 2 3-bedrooms. One 3-bedroom can do 8 occupants, second 3-bedroom can do 8. So in total, you have 16. Nobody else can do 16 because they're capped at 14, 12. So now you cornered a portion of the market where there's very few available in between. And so now you're clocking in these high rates with these big groups that are trying to come out, and you can legally sleep that many people. Just something to keep in mind when you're finding properties. So you're either going to be competing on price or value. So the middle's getting squeezed out. The Sears of the world is not going to be able to compete. If you want to be the middle ground, hey, we're luxury, but we're also competing on price, you're not going to do as well as either buying a place for the sole purpose as a budget place for people to stay at, or you're buying a place because it's a value-driven thing. There's something there that other properties may not have, or something there that is desirable for the person going there. I'll be honest, I definitely recommend competing on value instead of price, because price is a losing battle. You're just driving yourself to the ground with price. People that go for budget places are gonna look for the cheapest option possible, and you're really gonna price yourself out. Plus the kinds of guests that can come in could be questionable depending on how you price it and whatnot. So going for the value, going for the more luxury or the differentiated unique experience is probably the better way to go. The number one thing that's going to differentiate properties from one another is going to be location, which we talked about, but the second thing is going to be amenities. So we have incredible located properties with beautiful views, boulders, whatever, that do comparable to maybe less desirable locations, maybe, but still remote, that have all of the amenities, all the bells and whistles. So amenities are very important in this market. Let's talk about the most important amenities. The non-negotiables, we usually don't work with anybody that doesn't have at least a hot tub and a pool. Now, when I say pool, it doesn't have to be an in-ground pool, although that is probably the best bet. In-ground pools definitely see a lot of less variability throughout the year. You get strong summers. Your shoulder months get a little bit off because it's hard just in general. But when you have an in-ground pool, you're going to do so well in the summer months, which is usually slow season for everybody else. Now, if you have a cowboy pool, you'll be able to survive, and it's just a check mark amenity. Guests are going to be check marking for pool. If you have a cowboy pool, you can qualify for the check mark from the pool. Also really important. But hot tub is going to be the most important thing. You don't have to go the most expensive hot tub. We have a lot of great options that are pretty affordable, even $4,000 or $5,000, ship fast. We always work with clients to add those amenities in. If you wrap it with a deck, you make it beautiful, you make the presentation good, that's just bonus points for photos and everything else. But just at the bare minimum, have the check mark where when guests go through Airbnb, they can filter, hey, hot tub, pool, you're showing up. So when you're showing up, it gives you a chance to compete. Now, if you want to do a container pool, container pools do really well as well. We see that in-ground pools do a tad better. I think people just see it as more in demand. People just like it a lot better. Just something we see through the data. Now, amenities are affordable that are probably standard across the board are fire pit, barbecue pit, hammocks, those kind of things, shaded area. People really like those things. They're really not, they don't cost an arm and a leg, cornhole, things like that. Those are things that are just gonna make it a little more appealing. There really doesn't drive revenue all that much, but it makes the stay a lot more comfortable and leaves more 5-star reviews from guests, which is always a good thing. Now here the amenities are really gonna help separate you out and make you stand out across competition. Basketball courts, pickleball courts, fastest growing sport in America right now. At this time, there's a lot of investment going into pickleball courts. It's something that we've seen time and time again show a return. You could do an indoor movie theater. That's also really good. Not a lot of people think about that, but it's also something that drives revenue. A beautiful deck, decorations, landscaping, all these different things are really gonna make a difference in photos and really gonna show people what kind of experience you can have. And notice a lot of these things that we're talking about are on the outside, right? So like we said in the beginning of this video, the outdoor amenities and the outdoor experience and the aura and the feeling that you get outdoors is really gonna be the most important aspect of the whole stay. And taking it to a manager, when you can feel that same feeling, we take homes like that and we market it based on the photos that we choose and the ideas of the branding that we put into the listing. And so coming from a space of how it feels being on outside, we take that and make that in accordance to the listings that we put together. So thinking about that and thinking about photos, anytime you build amenities, where you place them is gonna be really important. So we wanna be able to place them in locations where we can actually make the end user feel a certain way when they're looking through the listing. We take a lot of time and energy to build these listings so that they are the most captured listings of the feeling that people want to encompass when they're at the property. And when you work with us, we usually walk the property with you and help you build all those amenities out and where they should go and how they should be angled and all those little details that make your listing pop more than it would if you didn't think about those. So the last thing I want to go over is the big mistakes that people make when investing in Joshua Tree. And these are the things that you should be aware of, and please don't make the same mistake. The biggest one is not finishing the property correctly, is cutting corners towards the end, either with bad furniture because you didn't hire a designer and you thought you could do it yourself. And we see people that just do design that's not Joshua Tree. It doesn't have the Joshua Tree feel. It doesn't fit 100% and it impacts your revenue potential. Some common mistakes happen usually with new builds. Not doing any landscaping outside, not really thinking about the full experience, and then it feels like a construction site and you're pulling up and there's just nothing there, it's just dirt. That always is, it's just a little bit more money just to get it across the board and it's gonna really make a difference, and people don't do that. Thinking about first impressions, a lot of times people leave an ugly fence or an eyesore when they've spent so much money in this beautiful build, and that usually takes away from the beautiful build. And so things like that, people really don't think about when they're finishing the property. But I really do think landscaping is one of the biggest things. Just spending $2,000 to $5,000 in landscaping, probably even less, it makes a huge difference. Just do it. Another thing is going for really cheap amenities. Sometimes people will do like horseshoes or something in the middle of a dirt path, and it's just, there's nothing else there around. There's no landscaping. It just sits there in the middle and just doesn't make for a good photo moment. Random murals that don't really encompass the house and take away from the beauty of the area, especially if you have a mural on a super luxury house and it just doesn't, it's mismatched. They're not really thinking about the end user in that case, and that really doesn't align really that well. Sometimes people spend a lot of money on the interior, but they spend no money on the outside, and it's just a beautiful home and it's okay, this is cool, but what do I do outside? It's just a standalone hot tub and standalone pool, like a little cowboy pool. That's really gonna be hard to sell the space. So hopefully that's been really helpful. If there's something I haven't really answered in the video, I definitely recommend you reach out to me. We have worked with so many clients. Like I said, 85 properties have gone live. We have so many data points on what works, what doesn't. We can go into more details on how we can partner up together and launch this property in the correct way to make the most money possible. So if you're interested in working with us, you can go to www.thecohostcompany.com and you can inquire through the form and we'll reach back out to you guys. I'd love to work with you guys to go even deeper in this. Even if you want just a conversation, happy to chat, and hopefully this video is helpful. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening. If you found this helpful, please give us a follow and leave us a 5-star review. Your support truly means a lot. And connect with Patrick in the show notes below. Until next time.